presence in these meetings. I'm now really pleased to introduce our first presenter of the day, Sarah McQueen, and she's talking about the higher skills, higher growth business support for charities. And she's an employer partnership officer at Sheffield Hallam University. So I'll mute myself now, Sarah, and I'll hand over to you.
Brilliant. Morning, everyone. I'll just set up sharing the screen. I promise it won't be death by PowerPoint, hopefully. So hi, everyone. So I work at Sheffield Hallam University, and I'm part of a department called Business Engagement, Skills and Employability. But I joined the team in November last year because we got funding as a university called Higher Skills, Higher Growth, which is specifically wanting to work with organisations, smaller organisations, so charities like the people that will be on this call. So that's why I'm here, really, to make you aware of how we've helped other people, and also, you know, to raise awareness of what it is that we're doing. So it's not just me. I do have I'm part of a team of 5 at Sheffield Hallam, as you'll see, my colleagues, and we all have sector specialisms. I actually look after the charities, but obviously some charities do have other areas. So some of my colleagues, it may be more suitable for you to join them. Now, part of this Higher Skills Higher Growth programme, we're actually partnered with Sheffield College and RNN Group. So some of the things that I talk about and placement opportunities and things like that, just to make you aware and flag. And if you're interested, I can introduce you to the right people at Sheffield College and RNN Group, just to be aware of what there is there. So happy to do introductions if that's an area that anyone would want to be connected with as well. So I think the easiest way to explain what we do is breaking down into 3 and how we support organisations. So where we say here is in develop your business, we do have schemes which is linked with funding as well. So for example, Scale Up 360, we've got a digital innovation growth, and also our Sheffield Innovation Programme. These are schemes that you could get support and from our academics to be able to help the business grow. The other thing that we offer is support for, so when we say develop your people, I won't read everything that we do, but for an example, I know in September we have a scheme called Help to Grow Management, and that's a government, it's 90% funded by government. So there is a cost to it, but we do have various different schemes like this. As well as you might have employers. So a lot of people think of apprenticeships as being more for 16 to 18-year-olds now. And actually, for the last, I think, 5 years at least, we have been offering apprenticeships that could be for anybody of any age, and they could be a master's or an undergraduate. So you might have an employer. When I think about charities, unfortunately, the nature of charities, you're not able to offer somebody maybe a high salary, but you might actually be able to support them and give them 20% of their time back to do an apprenticeship. So, and that's something that is fully funded by the government, depending on the course, but I can go into, introduce you to the relevant people and explain that. But that's just something to think about, that it doesn't have to be these big organizations, and you may not realize that levy exists. And then obviously the third one being access to our talent. So when I say about access to talent, we've got, it's great seeing who's on the call today, because I know some people have we've got funded internships where we've given we're paying students to go and work and do 100 hours for companies. So that's called a funded internship. This is our 3rd year of doing that, but we also offer, for all of our courses at every year level, different aspects where we offer training and support to our students to get real life experience. So that can be a placement, or it could be while they're working, or it could be what I would refer to as applied project, but I'll go into that in a bit more detail. These will be sent out, these slides, so I'm not sitting everything on every slide, but also afterwards I'll be able to answer any specific questions if I've not mentioned something that's got your interest. So the higher skills, higher growth team, we, just to kind of explain what we support with that, is supporting SMEs, which is less than 250 employees and less than a 50 million euro per annum. We're specifically looking and supporting people within the Sheffield City region. So just to that's, and a lot of the organisations that are here I'm aware of are in the Sheffield City region. So just to make you aware, they're the people that we'll be working with and supporting. And that's the demographic that are given preferential training in terms of our funded internships that I mentioned. So how it works, if you were to get in contact, is that we have I think the nicest way of putting it, and having worked at Hallam since November, Hallam is a bit of a beast, and I love it as an organisation, but there's so much that we offer, and from an external organisation, especially a smaller charity, can seem a bit daunting about where to start what. And my role is very much like an account manager. So I will want to learn about you and your business and see what it is that we offer and how we can, what would be appropriate for you, rather than list everything that we do. So I've kind of flagged some of these things, but it's just to make you aware. And we do training and offer support with our partners. So Carolyn, for example, we're working with in terms of around EDI and supporting, so that's equality, diversity and inclusion. And so we do want to help smaller organisations on how, and projects around recruitment I'm working on at the moment. So there are other initiatives as well that we can support you with. Again, I'm not going to list everything that's on there, but you might think, how have we helped charities? So just some specific kind of top line linked to some charities. So Cavendish Cancer Care and I think Element Society are charities that people probably know, as they're quite large charities. But Sheffield Hatters is actually a charity that I'm a trustee, which is a completely volunteer run organisation, which is in its 60th year playing for basketball. Now, these are three charities that I'm giving as example. Fundraising, as I'm just going to give you some headline examples. Cavendish Cancer Care have been working with us since about 2010, and we've managed to help them raise over 120k. So that has been, and obviously that's what we're all wanting, money. I'm not saying that I can promise any charity that gets in contact that I'm going to be able to do that. It's been over years, but that's been because what they've done is they've created a partnership with our event management course. So event students, as part of a project in their final year, has been raising money for Cavendish Cancer Care. So that's just an example of, depending on the course and what you're wanting. We've also had, so Element Society is another example. I mentioned applied projects. That is something where a student works on a project for a semester, or a group of students work on a project for a semester. So that's 12 weeks. And what they will do is they will have 3 touch points at the beginning, the middle and the end of the course. They gave them a scenario that they were wanting help with. And actually what happened was a group of students presented back about youth unemployment in South Yorkshire and how it's been affected with COVID. And they found that really informative. And then really, I mean, I'm conscious about time. All 3 charities have got funded interns at the moment that are helping them in different ways. And really it's the resource. I know from a personal point of view, we're doing the work I do for Hatters, it's always late in the evening or at the weekends, and there's only so much time you have as a charity. What's great is that we've been able to have students that have helped with doing funding bids, and we've had students that have helped with our marketing. And, you know, it's just been really pivotal to, and I think the other organisations have said this as well that I've worked with, that it's the resource that they didn't have before. So, as I say, we can't, you know, and Cavendish Cancer Care have definitely told me, people that have worked with them have gone on to get employment. It's almost been a try before you buy. They've built the relationship with them as students. So that's really, we're going to be sending out these slides. And what I've put here is a few links relevant so you can get some more information about some of the things I've touched on. And one of the things about advertising opportunities, we do a scheme called Rise, where we support you with, when you're doing your recruitment. I know charities are now in a position that they're wanting to take people back on. We'll actually support you with what that onboarding process is, and that's completely free. And it's a big, you know, that's the thing to emphasize. There's not always a cost to the things that we're doing. It's quite a lot of it is us supporting our students and the organisations we work with. So hopefully that's been an informative overview. And as I said, you'll get the presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions separately or now as well.
Sarah, thanks so much. That was a really good fly through all those different opportunities that I know that you're overseeing there at Sheffield Hallam. Please, attendees, do put your questions in the chat function if there's anything you would like to ask Sarah, and I'll curate those as we go along. For the next sort of 5 minutes, I'm just going to ask a couple of questions because I think that, you know, we always want to make this as interactive as possible. One of the things that really struck me when I first started talking to Sarah was that I think sometimes charities, you know, everyone's sort of really up against it. This year's been bonkers, for want of a better expression, and I think, you know, having access to some extra resource, or where you're struggling with some capacity, there are all sorts of really elegant solutions if you're approaching Sarah and the different schemes. So I wanted to really highlight that, and Sarah just alluded there to a few things where students could come in and help you with a marketing programme. And I know, Sarah, when we talked about specific projects, it's not necessarily that you as a charity need to honour 100 hours worth of a placement or an internship. It's that people can come in and help on an ad hoc basis. Can you tell me a bit more about some of those, you know, quick and simple solutions or organisational problems that charities could sort of try and overcome by you know, forming a relationship with you and the different students that you've got?
So there's a range of courses, a real range of courses, and they, as I said, everything has relevance, you know, depending on what the challenges are. As I said, so we can do volunteers, and I didn't really mention that. So if it is that you're wanting to just gain volunteers and to help with certain projects and it not be part of a course, that is something we can help with. I mean, I don't know if I'm answering your question here, Emma, because I'm thinking about the examples some of the examples I gave, and I don't want to repeat myself. So from a Hatter's point of view, what I can say is it was 100 hours that we took on. So is it just shorter time that you're talking about? Sorry, Emma.
Yeah, if people wanted just help with quick turnaround projects, but it wouldn't take 100 hours, is that something they could access? And does it need to be through the volunteer route, or could it be through funded work that comes from the university?
So, I mean, we do have, the university have like help through lecturers. So that's the Sheffield Innovation Programme. So that would be something where you might have a challenge, and as long as you are an SME within the Sheffield City region, we can put you to help you to do something innovative and new, and that will utilise that with using actually the resource of lecturers. So that would be probably a quick, well, I say quick, obviously we have to plan that time in. So it is, and I would like to manage people's expectations, and they say, oh, we want to do this right now. It does need to fit into when it's fitting in with courses or with a lecturer from that point of view. So I'd rather be honest about that from the outset. But we do have, normally it is more for a certain amount of time, but if you're worried about 100 hours of your time and having to be around a placement student for 100 hours, it definitely doesn't need to be like that. As I mentioned, the applied projects, that could be 3 hours of your time, but then you get the result that comes back. So that's what we call applied projects. For anyone that's worked with Hallam before, this was known as Venture Matrix. So it might spark some, but it's now called applied projects. But that's a great scheme, and it's the one that I mentioned around the youth unemployment in South Yorkshire that we did for Element Society. So if the resource and the 100 hours is a challenge, that's a good way around it.
Okay. I mean, it's always best to sort of, get in contact. Like you said, you said in your presentation, there's 5 of you in the team. There's a few people who with certain sector specialisms, so they can get in contact with you. I'm just looking here on the chat. We've got a couple of questions. One here from Rona Bywater. Thanks, Rona. Her question is, would you be able to support the development of a social media policy and practice? We're a small charity and in the process of getting a new website, but need help to use this and our Twitter account effectively. So
yeah, that would be something that students, what I would go back to is like managing your time expectation. But we can always, for charities, what is good about it, we don't do this for certain organizations, but for charities, we do actually put volunteer opportunities out as well. So, and do that for free. So someone who is studying marketing that's wanting to do a master's, sorry, not a master's, dissertation, they may choose to do that as their dissertation subject and to support you. Or you can have, like, to be honest, how I've got involved in Hatters, I was a graduate wanting to get into sport, and I'd done sport business management, and I'm there 12 years later, still volunteering my time. And it's once you get involved in a charity, you can't, it gets you, doesn't it? So it's definitely something we could put out and to explore. Definitely happy to talk more about that.
We've got time for probably 2 more questions. This one comes from Alice Clark. Thank you, Alice. She says, when you say Sheffield district, does this mean Sheffield, or would Rotherham come under this umbrella?
Rotherham is definitely included. It's Sheffield City region, so that's quite a large area. I probably would have helped if I put a map on. I'm happy to do that, but Rotherham definitely 100% is included in that.
But that stretches obviously like Barnsley, Doncaster, and probably not much wider than that.
Not much wider than that, but yeah, those at least.
That's fine. Another question here from David. Thank you, David. David Gray. He says, how does the recruitment of interns work? Just again, conscious of time, is there a form, a process? Is there a person that people should contact?
So if that's the funded internship, there is a form to be completed. But in terms of wanting to have a placement as well, which is the 100 hours, that is something that we can also do a link to in terms of there's a form for that as well. So do get in contact and I'll happily send you the relevant forms. No problem.
Just to make the distinction, Sarah, am I right that a placement and an internship are 2 separate things?
Yeah, so we have, and they are, and thanks for clarifying that, Emma. So you have a funded internship, which is actually something which is only just happening now, which is over the summer period. And that starts we start promoting that to students in February, whereas a placement will happen in term time as part of their course. That's voluntary for that. They're doing that as part of their course. So that doesn't cost you anything. Either way, it doesn't cost you anything. But the funded internship, the student is being paid to do the work. That's the difference. And it's to help our graduates that are going into work, helping them get that experience.
Okay. I'm going to stop it there so that we can keep to time. Sarah, thanks so much for coming along. It's been really, really informative. I just want to end on a really nice note. There's a comment here from Vicky Travis at Virgin Money, who says, great work that you're doing with Sheffield Hallam, and they're looking forward to welcoming their internship candidate over the summer. So that's really nice. There's obviously people here in the room who are obviously already, paired up and accessing all these brilliant resources. So thanks once again, Sarah. As Sarah has said, the slides will be available. Obviously, after the event, I'll send everything out to everybody. And again, all the sessions will be diced and spliced, and I'll put them on the YouTube channel. So if you wanted to share those. So I'll say thanks again to Sarah. I'll also forward any further questions that come through to you. And I'm going to ping you back to Rachel, who will magic button us back into the next breakout room, I think.